I wanted to kind of take a Sunday to kind of share a little bit about what I've been learning and experiencing lately, and I know it's going to be an encouragement. It's going to be a challenge because it is to me, but I hope it encourages you nonetheless this morning. The other weekend, I was sitting on my couch, and I had come home from my meetings and whatever I had that day, and I was just sitting down and enjoying my son. But then I was quickly caught up in the busyness of the plate that I had ahead in this upcoming week. The meetings, the events I had to plan, the hard conversations I was going to have, or the ways to best fundraise and do all these other things quickly became part of this moment that took me out of enjoying my son. And I realized that I was missing out. When I zoned back in, he was saying, "Dad, Dad." And he was on this train, his favorite toy. This isn't the exact moment, but I found a picture. It's one of his favorite toys. And I was missing out on this moment because I was so caught up in my busyness and my hurried life that we all so easily can get entangled in. And then it was just the other week, we got to get away for my birthday. And we got my wife booked us a trip at this awesome cabin in Bays, Virginia. I'm not sure if I'm getting that wrong, but it's the cabin. We got away. It was awesome. And on the second night, it was our last night, she was reading a book, and it was quiet. It was still. And I opened up my computer and just started working. I was responding to emails, and I was distracted. I was busy. I was in this pace of life where I wasn't able to be present. And this is something that I needed to tend to, or else I would keep missing out on the beautiful and awesome moments with my family, my friends, my community. And I think if you guys are to reflect for a few moments, sometimes you fall into that trap. I realize, and that's why I named today Enjoy Today. Named today's sermon Enjoy Today, because I think quickly we can get so focused on the future, even good hopes and dreams and goals that we make that are good, but distracts us from the moment of today. Or maybe it's fears, insecurities, or worries about what's coming up that can distract you from what's going on. I realized that so much of my time and energy and thought life was thinking of, planning, and preparing for the future. And if it wasn't thinking, planning, and preparing, I was doing the thing I was thinking, planning, and preparing. And so my mind, and I think our world, is constantly stimulated now. We're always filling up our schedules. And if you're not in a place where you're filling up your schedules, you're filling your minds with things. Whether it's video games, whether it's schoolwork, whether it's worried about a friend group or worried about a tough conversation. Like, we go at 100 miles an hour. And it's really hard to sit and be still and be present. Our phones, man, these things. Subconsciously, we'll flip it out. And we'll just scroll. There are too many distractions. I'm living a hurried life, a busy life. And God brought to mind, I used to live in Kenya. My parents were missionaries, and so I spent some time there. And there's this old Kenyan proverb that came to my mind. And it's, haraka haraka haina baraka. And we actually have someone from Kenya here today. But it means hurry, hurry brings no blessing. We weren't designed to live at the pace that our world is living at. And our Western world has shifted to constantly stimulating ourselves with work, with pleasure, with social interactions, with whatever it may be to fill up our time and our minds, and we are so distracted. If it's not planning or doing it, and maybe that our mind is so hurried and busy with thoughts of loneliness, of insecurity, of fear. And so in my study and research, I remembered a book that I actually didn't take the time to read, but I remembered it because of this Kenyan proverb that came to mind, and it's called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry by John Mark Comer. Has anyone read this before? No one? Okay, I rarely give homework assignments. Your homework assignment is to pick this book up and read it. This has made such a big difference in my life. And I'm glad I took the time to read it over this past few weeks. And much of what I'm sharing is from him and his sources, and the way that God has designed us is not a life of hurry. It's not a life of 100 miles an hour. We all have our own story of trying to stay sane in the age of iPhones and Wi-Fi and the 24-hour news cycles, Comer writes. And the urbanization and the 10-lane freeways and the soul-crushing traffic and the nonstop noise and the frenetic 99, 100-mile-per-hour pace that we go. So believe me or not, hurry sickness is a real thing. I don't know if you knew that. Psychologists actually diagnose people with hurry sickness. And so hurry sickness can be this feeling of constantly being behind and rushed, which causes stress and anxiety. There's a definition, and it says a behavior pattern characterized by continual rushing and anxiousness, an overwhelming and continual sense of urgency. Has anyone heard of the tyranny of the urgent? A pattern of feeling chronically short of time, and so we tend to perform every task faster and faster and faster, and we get flustered, annoyed, aggravated when we encounter any type of delay, any type of interruption. Anyone feel like they just got read like a book or exposed? I know I did. And it makes sense, like we fall, all of us, regardless of where you're at, type A, I think typically you're type A driven people that get tasks done are more tempted to feel this way, but even if you're not, we fall somewhere on the spectrum of hurry sickness. We live in a time-pressed culture that seeks instant gratification. We want everything to be done quickly and efficiently and effectively and be more, get more, do it quickly. And we uplift these people and give them accolades and money to reward them for how efficient they are. And from a worldly point of view, we kind of have to assimilate. We have to be this because in order to find success and to earn money, we have to be efficient. We have to accomplish things. But more often than not, these people are left empty and plagued by a vicious cycle of busyness and a hurried life that takes away the joy that they were meant to have. Sabotaged by the demand of everything happening quickly. Everything happening at such a hurried pace. And one of Comer's sources, and he wasn't a mentor of his, but it's someone that was a mentor of his mentor, is got a philosopher named Dallas Willard. Anyone heard of Dallas Willard? He had this saying and this thesis that said, hurry is the greatest enemy of spiritual life in our day. And you should ruthlessly eliminate hurry in your life. And that's where John Mark got his title. And I think if I was posed that question before this was articulated, I wouldn't have said that hurry is the greatest enemy of our spiritual life. And as I think about it, I don't know if it's the greatest enemy of our spiritual life. We can have a conversation. That's a good conversation. But even if you pose that, I don't know if hurry would have come up in the top 10. But after realizing the impact on my life and the pace that I am tempted to go at, this is a huge issue. Hurry is really the main issue underneath so many other issues of our day and age. From outrage culture to these kind of anxiety epidemics across our generation, to digital distraction, to the breakdown of family, to chronic loneliness and the suicide rate, and to its explosion, and to exhaustion, and to burnout, and so on and so forth. And much of these detriments to society have been leaked to the pace in which we live our lives and our minds, how fast they're running and how much they're going. So if you're still wondering or doubting if you suffer from hurry sickness, some of these are a little lighthearted, but at the same time, these are symptoms. Switching lanes at the grocery store. You finish getting whatever your to-do list is, your grocery list that your wife gave you, and you get the lines, and you're like scanning and scoping. Which one's the shortest? Oh, you're free, and I rush there. Switching to the fast lane when we're driving, whether it's constantly wanting to pass somebody or like I want to go, I want to, even if it's, sometimes you're late for a meeting and so you need to go a little faster. Okay, I get it. But like I feel like we're always in this state of wanting to go, get past, especially when we're driving. This is funny. I find myself doing this all the time, jaywalking or walking while it's a red light. Like, we're saving 10 seconds, maybe 15, 30, and we're acting like I have to get across, like I have to get somewhere. But in reality, it's not going to make that big of a difference. Walk the extra 50 feet and go where you're supposed to go. It's a safety thing. Again, I'm talking to myself here. Coming to a stoplight. I don't know if you guys are coming to a stoplight and you're counting. You're like, okay, there's 2 cars here and there's 5. So I'm shifting my down to go to the right, and I'm trying to get into this lane that has less cars. Or sometimes you maybe multitask so much that you forget one of your tasks. Or maybe you start to do so many things that you do them poorly rather than just doing one well. Some other signs that you're moving too fast in life. These hit home. Irritability or hypersensitivity. You're just quick to jump at people. You're kind of on edge and you take offense really easily. It takes very little to hurt you or your feelings or set you off or put you in a funk. Restlessness. When you finally carve out time to take a Sabbath, to go on rest, to go on vacation, even to take a few minutes, you find yourself that you can't relax. You reach for your phone, you turn on the TV, you go to work, you go to emails. Something in your mind just can't stop. You can't actually sleep. You're restless. You can't actually calm and slow and breathe. Inhale. Exhale. Compulsively overworking. Oh, yeah, there we go. You just have to get in another email, another hour at the office, or another hour of study, or whatever it is for you. And I get it. Some deadlines creep up. Some things happen. And I get it. There are moments when we need to give an extra hour or a few minutes towards something. But I feel like this is the pace we're constantly running at. Emotional numbness. You begin to lose your capacity to feel. Like you feel so much, but all that's really coming out as is anxiety and speechlessness and anger. You're left with the narrowest bandwidth of emotions, which for most people is anger and anxiety. You lose your capacity for emotions like awe and wonder and gratitude and empathy. Escapist behaviors. Whatever it is that you do to escape. And these aren't bad things. To find rest, to enjoy. You start, whether it's Netflix, a show, whether it's Sunday football coming up this afternoon, alcohol, work. But when those things compromise your ability to slow down, to rest, to be present, remove them from your life or seek accountability, because those things are keeping you from enjoying the present, from being aware of things in your life that you actually need to sit with. But we don't, because we're going at such a fast pace. And the saddest and most important, when we live a life of hurry, we're easily disconnected and we are distracted from our identity and calling as a children of God. We lose track and lose sight of who we are and who we are not. We lose track of what we are to do and what we're not to do. And we get sucked in the tyranny of the urgent, and our life and our leadership become far more reactive than proactive. Not able to attend to human basic needs, like a good home-cooked meal. We're in a hurry. Go to fast food. I love Wendy's, love Chick-fil-A. Time and a place for them. Like, when's the last time you had a good home-cooked meal? You sat down and enjoyed it. How are you after reading this list? The symptoms in this list. How are you? It's not great for me. 5 out of 6. Sometimes 6 out of 6. So this is something we have to identify and realize and tend to in our lives. We'll get to that. I won't get to that for yet. What do most people say when you ask them how you're doing? Or when you ask them how they're doing? What did you say? Good. Yeah, that's a quick one. Oh, I'm good, or oh, this is like I'm doing well. But if you start to press a little bit or ask a follow-up question, what quickly comes up? I'm good, but busy. Pay attention, and you'll find this answer, this hurried life, this way of feeling and going permeates everywhere across ethnicity, gender, stage of life. College students are busy. Young parents are busy. Empty nesters are busy somehow, even on the golf course. Don't know how, but we can still be busy. We're escaping from the business of life and somehow going to the golf course or going to get our nails done. Hoping I'm not stepping on any toes here. CEOs are busy. So are baristas, part-time nannies. We're all busy. And we hear this refrain, I'm great, just busy. And the danger is, and we hear this so often that we become okay with it. After all, everyone else is busy, so it's all right. But what if busyness and this hurried pace isn't healthy? Comer writes, what if it's an airborne contagion wreaking havoc on our collective soul and communities? Okay, there are some healthy busyness. I will agree. Sometimes we have a full plate. We have a lot to do. But that's, and by definition, when you think of Jesus' life, he was a busy man, right? Going to and from. He had ministry. He had plans. He had things he was doing. But was he ever in a hurry? I argue no. Because by definition, Jesus himself was busy. The problem lies in having too much to do. Not having a lot to do, but having too much to do, that the only way to keep the quota or accomplish these things is to hurry everything up. So the only way to cram it all in is to speed up our minds, speed up our bodies, speed up our relationships. And that's not the way that we were designed to be in a relationship. That wasn't the way we were designed for our mind. Again, there are times, I think when Cece, when her water broke, there's a time to be busy and to hurry and to put into action. When there's a loose ball on the basketball court, like I'm going to hustle and I'm going to get to it and I'm going to recover that ball. Whenever Theo runs into the road, like I'm going to hurry, I'm going to go grab him, and there's an urgent need that needs to be taken care of. But those moments are very few and far between, and the rest of our life doesn't need to be lived that way. This hurried pace is not compatible with the life and kingdom of God. That gear is not compatible with the speed God designed you to live. Someone once said, if the devil can't make you sin, he'll make you busy. And I think in Screw Tape Letters, I think that's one of the chapters. It's like, okay, you can't get them to do hedonistic things or pagan things or secular things. Fill their schedules up. Make them busy, even with maybe church things. Busy, hurry, overload, and exhaustion has a similar effect on us as sin. They cut you off from awareness of and connection to the Spirit of God, who is not only all around us, but in us. That's our hope, the hope of glory, Christ in us. And that's true, our righteousness, our security, our adoption as sons, and it's there for us, and it can never be taken away. But our mind, Tozer writes, is the battleground where these battles are won or lost. The war is won. Amen. Jesus claimed victory for us, and we get to rest in that and relish in that. But there are still battles to fight that we can lose. And that is won or lost in our mind. Hearts, new heart. The new covenant, what Jesus did. Amen. But we have to know that our mind is a portal, a way, a gateway into the things that we struggle with, even as saints, even as people that are children of God. That's how sin can creep back in. And Satan wants to keep you busy. There was a professor that conducted a survey of 20,000 Christians, and he identified busyness as the major block in most people's relationship to God. This is very interesting. It seems to be the case that, one, Christians are assimilating to a culture of busyness, hurry, and overload. It makes sense. Like, we're living in this world, And to an extent, we have to live our lives efficiently, effectively, and that sometimes means quickly. And so we're assimilating, we're adopting this worldview, but then it permeates and affects our spiritual lives and our social lives. And God becomes marginalized. God becomes marginalized in our lives. If we have all these things that we're doing and we're hurrying and going at 100 miles an hour, that means that God gets put in a box at some point during today. At some point, sometime this week, sometime this month, he becomes marginalized. And when that happens, God becomes, our relationship deteriorates. Like I said, Christ in us, the righteousness and hope that we have can never be taken away. But our external mind and behavior can be so quickly affected when we marginalize and we live a life that's so hurried that we don't take the time to spend time with him. And that leads to Christians becoming even more vulnerable to adopting secular assumptions on how to live. If Christ is in this box, and if we aren't spending time with him and we're adopting this way of the world, we're going to adopt their beliefs. We're going to adopt their lives. We're going to adopt their lifestyle, and it's going to wreak havoc in our relationships and our minds. More conformity to a culture of busyness, hurry, and overload, and the vicious cycle repeats itself. There is more at stake than our emotional health when you think of busyness. This isn't just about being less stressed or anxious. Our spiritual life itself is deeply affected. And I love how Comer, how he defines spiritual life is our capacity to receive and give love. If you think about your spiritual life, it's who Jesus is in you, yes, amen. But you think about how does that overflow, or how do you even first receive it? And it's from first our capacity to receive love and then give it. And I love this quote, hurry is incompatible with love. And there's this by the late theologian, I'm going to butcher his name, Kazuki Koyama. He wrote this 3 mile an hour God, and it says, God walks slowly because he is love. If he is not love, he would have gone much faster. Love has its speed. It's an inner speed. It's a spiritual speed. It is a different kind of speed from the technological speed to which we are accustomed. It is slow, yet it is Lord over all speeds, because it is a speed of love. And the Walter Adams, the spiritual director to C.S. Lewis, he says, to walk with Jesus is to walk with a slow, unhurried pace. Hurry is the death of prayer and only impedes and spoils our work. It never advances it. Again, there's times when you're running from thing to thing, when you throw up a hurried prayer, Jesus help me or Jesus be with me, those aren't bad. But if that is the only thing that your prayer life consists of, you are missing out. And you are in danger of not seeing and being with God the way that he designed it, spending intentional time. And our culture echoes this thought of fast is good, slow is bad. If you think of the word slow, when someone has a low IQ, what do we dub him? Slow. When the service at the restaurant is lousy, we call it slow. When a movie is boring, again, we complain that it's slow. What's crazy is the Merriam-Webster definition for slow is mentally dull, stupid, naturally sluggish, lacking in readiness, promptness, or willingness. The message is clear. Slow is bad, fast is good. But in the upside-down kingdom, and when I say that, so when Jesus came, he turned our world upside down. The first shall be last. Bless those that persecute you. Pray for your enemy. Love your enemy. He turned things upside down the way the world operates and how they live. Hurry is of the devil, slow is of Jesus, because Jesus is what love looks like. We see the speed of love demonstrated by Jesus. One of the first things you notice, Jesus was rarely ever in a hurry. When you think about it, again, he had things to do, places to be, but notice the times, the interactions, the stories, and the teachings were in times where he wasn't in such a hurry that he couldn't stop and know who tugged on his cloak or who just came through the roof. It's like, I don't have time for you. I got to get to my next meeting. I got to get to my next thing. He wasn't in a hurried pace. He was in a slow pace where he was able to love and be there, be compassionate. And think about this. Next time you're reading through the Gospels, how many teachings and stories of Jesus were actually in response to an interruption in his day? So many teachings and stories of Jesus himself were actually in a response to an interruption. And in every single interruption, Jesus is never in a hurry. He's there to offer wisdom. Here's a parable. Here's a healing. Here's a prophetic word. Sometimes a rebuke. Whatever the moment calls for. He's not in such a pace that he's not able to love and be present. This one gets to me. How do you respond to interruptions in your day? Because they come every single day. I just think about this morning, trying to get to church. Theo, we're getting him ready, getting his diaper bag ready. Oh, there's no bottle. Oh, there's no bottles cleaned. Oh, I got to go wash a bottle. Oh, where are his socks? Oh, we're 30 minutes late. I got to go pick up these noodles for Kids Away, and I got to go pick up. There's interruptions all the time in our day, and typically when we encounter them, it's anger, frustration, annoyance. But this morning, because of this truth, I was able to just be like, yes, that's annoying. Yes, we need to maybe prioritize our time and set our alarms a little earlier. But I was like, just breathe, Rich. It's okay. You can be a few minutes late. And so I didn't get in the car, and I wasn't annoyed, so I was actually able to be with my wife and tell her, I thought about a time I needed to apologize to her. But if I was so caught up in being hurried and annoyed and angry and anxious, I'd miss out on the opportunity to have a conversation that needed to happen. Hurry sabotages our capacity to receive and give love. Does anyone know what the first adjective of love that Paul describes in 1 Corinthians 13? Love is what? Patient. Another translation says love is unhurried. Love is not compatible with hurry. It sabotages our capacity to receive love from God. Whether it's in prayer or time in Scripture or journaling or meditation, if we're at a hurried pace, we can't receive God's love. It takes time. We can't be in a hurry. We have to slow down. We have to carve out time, intentional time for God. I don't know exactly what this time looks like, but please help me. Be with me. Do at this time what you will. Let God love you into people of love and experience healing and wholeness in Christ, but that doesn't come at a hurried pace. And then to give love. I feel like most of my moments of weakness, of failures, as a father, as a husband, as a friend, as a pastor, comes when I am caught up in the busyness and hurried pace of life. What comes out of me isn't love or compassion most of the time, or truth or wisdom or clarity or a prophetic word. What comes out of me is distraction, annoyance, a lack of attention and empathy. And it's because of this pace that we're tempted to run at 24/7. For all the talk about personal relationships with Jesus, it's easy to forget that relationships take time. Think of a close friend. Think of your marriage. Think of a leadership team. Think of anything you invest your time. What's the 90s phrase? How do you spell love? Time. Time. There is truth in that. Relationships are not quick or efficient. It's the same with God. It's the same with your relationship with God. As you begin to take prayer seriously, spiritual practices seriously, life with Jesus seriously, it comes from a place of slowing down. The best gift we can give to Jesus is our time and attention. The threat, there's this Anglican priest, I forget his name, he said that the church in the West, the greatest threat is not hedonism, but it's hurry and distraction. An unhurried pace or slowing down oxidizes our capacity for love and compassion. So if you're struggling to love somebody, whether it's your sister, your brother, your parents, a friend, a coworker, I would argue you're going at an unnatural pace, whether it's in your mind or in your work. But if you take the time to slow down, because love and compassion demands us to slow in order to be present with whoever we're with, long enough to feel what another person is feeling, to see the world from their perspective, even if we don't agree, to sit with them in that place. And all sorts of studies have shown neurologically, listening to someone is indistinguishable from feeling loved. So next time you go into a hard conversation, really focus on slowing down and listening. Give them your eyes, undistracted. First, this is big, one of the best pieces of advice I was ever given. First, listen to understand before you speak to be understood. Repeat back to them what they say. Give them your time. I promise you, even though you may not ultimately agree, even though there's still conflict and friction, both of you will come out of that feeling loved because you are taking the time to see and to know and to value and to love them. So what do we do? Sorry, I'm running out of time. So what do we do? The solution isn't more time. The solution isn't to hurry. And may need to take a break. We won't take a break. I'll finish up. The solution isn't more time. It's not, I wish I had 5 more hours today to finish this up. Because I would just fill those hours with more things to do. The solution is to slow down. And what does this mean? It's finding places of silence and solitude. If you look at the life of Jesus, he constantly, after he's done with a group, or after he's done something, whether it's a meal, he seeks places of rest and solitude to pray and just breathe and be away from people. As much as Jesus loved people, he needed to get away. Sit and be still. I love the psalm. When do you take the time to sit and be still? For 10 minutes. Sit with your thoughts. Ask God, what do you want me to see in this moment? What do you want me to do? And maybe, what do you want me to enjoy? Allow moments of inefficiency. I wrestled with this one. It's like, what do you mean? Like, we want to all be efficient. But I think we just need to allow times when we're not the most efficient, when we don't accomplish things the fastest, especially when it comes to relationships, because you can't rush them. I love this. Walk places. Find ways to walk to where you're going, because it forces you to slow down. Ask for help. Prioritize time in relationships. Make a schedule. Communicate it. This is one of the things that I'm striving to do better with my wife is make a schedule so that you're aware of where are my commitments? Where am I spreading myself thin? What do I have going on? Communicate it. Be aware of your commitments and know when to say no. It's okay to say no. Or can I get back to you later? Let tomorrow worry about itself. In Matthew, Jesus is saying, yes, dreams, goals, there are plenty of things to consume our minds with, but let it worry itself. It doesn't mean don't think about them, doesn't mean don't plan or prepare, but don't be consumed by the things, the fears, the longings, the future, that it detracts, that it compromises, that it takes you away from being present with God and others. It's wise to regularly deny ourselves from getting what we want, whether through a practice as intense as fasting or as minor as picking the longest checkout line in the grocery store. That way, when somebody else denies us from getting what we want, we don't respond in anger. We're already acclimated because we're trying to slow down. This will be a radical step. A few more minutes, 1 more minute. This will be a radical step. Notice this quote, the ruthless elimination of hurry. If you agree, and even it's going to take a radical change in your life. It doesn't say an easy elimination of hurry, a ruthless. It's going to take sacrifice. This won't just happen to you. It's an intentional decision. I'm going to end with this. I'm going to skip a lot. I hear Jesus responding to our generation. I hear Jesus responding to me. This is how he responded to Martha in Luke 10 when he came to visit. And Mary and Martha were two sisters. And Martha was in the kitchen, scurrying around, trying to get everything prepared, very busy, and doing things, probably efficiently. She was getting stuff done. But she got mad at her sister for sitting at the feet of Jesus. She's like, Lord, tell her to come help me. But he says, Martha, Martha, you are worried and upset about many things, but few things are needed, or indeed only one. Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken away from her. Stop, slow down, sit with me. Those task lists, that laundry, that event you have to prepare for, that test, okay, study, but don't let it compromise the moment of enjoying relationships in front of you and the God that desires to encourage you and be there for you and love you unconditionally. So church, may our community slow down. We need grace in this. But this is a truth and something that I'm challenging myself, and I have already found such fruit in it. Slow down. Expect interruptions in your day. Don't be in such a hurry. And may the God of peace guard you and give you, and as you receive love and as you learn to give it at a pace that isn't hurried, but unhurried and patient. As we seek to stay true to our calling and identity as children of God, as people walking, not running with God, as people walking with God as we once did in the garden.